And welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host Tina. How you doing, Tina?
I'm good, Rob. How are you?
Oh, absolutely pleasant for this lovely morning. It's a little tad bit warm, but it's early. You know how it is.
It is warm.
Gotta love California weather. Although we're going to talk to somebody who is in even hotter weather than we have, or more humid, I guess. So I ended up having someone go to our Instagram account and like our page. So she also has a podcast. So I decided, hey, I'm going to check this thing out because, someone was nice enough to follow us. So I'm going to do it as well. So I went on, and this young lady does podcasts on real true crime and murders. So, me being into horror movies and those said things, I go on there. And of course, she has some cool ones on, like, I don't know if you know the guy who's the background of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Mr. Geen. He was the guy who wanted to actually make suits out of human people. So that was the first one I listened to because I thought I got to hear, the story of this one. And it's a very interesting one. So I thought, hey, I'm going to reach out to this young lady and see if she would like to come on and talk about, for one, her podcast, and of course, serial killers and our fascination with true crime in this country. So that I did. I reached out to her and she was nice enough to come on, and her name is Lexi. She is from the ReaperReport.com and the Reaper Report podcast. How are you doing, Lexi?
Hi, I'm great. How are y'all doing?
Oh, absolutely
Welcome.
great.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, not a problem at all.
Thank you for being up with us.
Yeah, I mean,
of course.
It's not really, you've been up a little while.
She's been.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a tad bit.
Something here.
Exactly, because
That's right.
But
you're on the East Coast.
It's already hot. Bailey's already mad we can't go outside.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing great.
Yeah, that's super awesome.
Afternoon.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and your podcast.
All right. Well, my name is Lexi. I am from Houston, Texas originally, and I moved to Florida last year. And over the last couple years, I've seen a lot of fascination with true crime, and I've had a stalker myself. I was in the Navy, and I've seen a lot of, I don't know, just like a lot of people get crazy, and you can think that they are just normal. They're your regular partner, coworker, whatever, but you have no idea what they're doing at night, what they're doing outside of work hours. One of the cases I covered was Ted Bundy, and Anne Rule did her whole book on him. And it's just like, they're right next to you. So whenever I moved, part of the reason why I moved to Florida was because I did have a stalker, and I was like, people need to be aware. Had I not been aware, had I not listened to true crime, I probably would be in a trunk of a car or lost somewhere on the highway. So yeah, it was pretty bad. Mm-hmm. So I'm very grateful that, I paid attention. I do have my military background, so I do have the situational awareness, but just kind of other cues that you don't really think about in day-to-day life it's really helpful. So I'm hoping that maybe I'll be able to help someone. And also if I'm able to help solve a case, that'll be absolutely amazing. So that's the goal. Very
cool.
Yeah.
And that's how you rolled into wanting to talk about it and do a podcast?
Yeah, pretty much. My health has taken a pretty big toll. I am a certified surgical tech by trade. I got in the Navy, and I've done that for about 8 years now. So I developed body tremors, and I can't really hold my instruments anymore. So I've been home doing a lot of rehab and trying to figure out what's going to work. And I'm watching all these people I watch Mr. Bowen a lot, and I'm like, I can do that. He's Navy. Come on, I can do it too. So I figured, why not? My boyfriend tells me I have a nice voice. I have a lot of friends that tell me I have a nice voice, very personable and all this stuff. So I figure, why not? Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, it is.
And, I like hearing my voice too. So
at first, I was a little hard on myself about hearing my own voice, and Tina was not good at all.
I still don't like it.
So
It still sound great.
yeah, but it is for me, it's a little different because like Tina hears it one time sort of because we didn't listen to our own show for quite a while, or she didn't. Mm-hmm. I hear it literally the next day or the day after when I start editing it. So when you start hearing your voice over and over and over, it's like, yeah. Now I'm a little bit
But
better.
I think Rob sounds the same as he has since we were 16, 17. So it doesn't sound different to me, but I don't know who this person is when I'm listening.
I can't understand that. I was the voice of that company at one point, and so I'd call and be like, "Thank you for calling so and so."
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And it was just funny. I'd pick up and I'm like, "That's me."
Yeah, when you're the answering machine or you're the entry to a thing, it's very bizarre. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
For me, it was just deep
like
voice.
Westworld. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. And for me, it's that I feel like my voice is so deep that people are, it's hard to understand me. And all my friends are like, "You're fine. Just keep going."
Well, it's very soothing.
Well, thank you.
Very soothing. So I do have hearing aids, so I did have to turn them up a little bit, but it's like your voice is very soothing. So it's like this is perfect for you.
Oh, well, thank you. So
he's been doing this voice since we were very young.
Yeah.
So he's practiced it for years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Were you in theater?
No. Well, no. I mean, I call pro wrestling theater, but I wasn't a theater geek or anything. I just like, I like trying to make people laugh. So I'm one of those people that'll make fun of myself to get a pop out of somebody.
Same.
Yeah. So, and I like doing voices. Like I'll do an English voice or that kind of thing. I'll try to do an English accent and said things like that. So
I'm not hearing the accent. He always goes into this accent. I love it.
At some point we're talking a serious subject today.
Very serious.
Very serious. She said Ted Bundy. I mean, this is a guy who did a lot of bad things to people. So before we get too deep into this, let's do your socials. Do you have a Facebook? You have a Twitter?
Okay, yes.
You have Instagram?
Yes, I have all of them.
Yeah, TikTok.
So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, Amazon. I'm not on Apple because that's just too much. And then I do have a website that you can just go to and everything is right there if you don't want to go find everything.
Correct.
It's thereeperreport.com and you just type it in and boom, I'm there.
Correct. I'm looking at it right now. So it's very simple. Down at the bottom, you have all your buttons and you can just button your way on over to her and listen to her either way you'd like. So
yeah, I just Googled you and you came up really easily.
Yes. So, I'm number 3 when you search Ed Kemper.
Oh, very nice.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. So I was so excited. I don't know why. You're like, cool. There's 2 websites ahead of me about this crazy murder. And then they can listen to me talk about it. Yes. I'm almost there.
Yeah.
There you go.
That guy was a kook. That guy was super kooky.
He's eligible for parole in 2 years.
Yeah. Super kooky.
Kook.
Yeah. When you want to make suits out of people, there's, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I think Ed Gein's dead. Ed Gein was a suit guy. Ed Kemper's the one that had killed his mom. He was a really tall one that had killed his mom.
Oh yeah. I listened to that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was nuts. I like his voice though, or I like the way he's portrayed in Mindhunter. Let me take that back.
Well, it's funny because
he's my favorite in there.
You talk about voices and or like how people were. Ted Bundy, like when this guy was on trial, like women were like drooling over him because he was like
nuts.
He was nuts, but he talked so well and he had like this very calm demeanor, like and it was bizarre when you start looking deep into these guys' minds.
Yeah, the psychology of them is really nuts because if you just talk to somebody and have a nice conversation and you get them to let that barrier down, you can do a lot. You can do a lot of good. You can do a lot of bad. Mm-hmm. Totally up to you.
What do you think is the fixation with that in this country? Like we have tons of shows on this.
I think it's because, we all think there's supposed to be a good and evil, and we can't imagine the ones that are like right next to us doing it. Like for Chris Watts, for example, I remember working at the hospital and everybody was going crazy. They're like, oh my gosh, my friend dated him. So-and-so knew him. We went to high school with him. And I was in Colorado at the time, and I actually met him at one of the summer parties because my ex at the time was working for the company. So I remember getting the chills from him, and I was just like, all right, never mind. I'm gonna go over here. And it was, everybody was just talking about it, and it was just something to talk about because at the end of the day, we're all human and we love drama, we love gossip, and we love to talk about stuff.
Right.
So if there's a way that we can connect ourselves to it as well, all on it.
I find
I don't find any of that interesting. I was listening to your podcast and I was like, hell no, do I want to think about these people? I'm in the house by myself going, I don't like listening to this.
But
it was totally scary.
Understandable.
No, but I think that's the flip side of it though. So you're interested in it from the side of it being this horrible thing. Look, I don't listen to her podcast and go, oh, these guys are great. I more look at them from the idea of like she just said, Lexi was like, they could literally be the person who lives next to you and they're doing monstrously bad things. And then,
well, see, and that's the stuff I'd rather not know because, there is bliss. There is bliss in not knowing what your neighbor is doing. And I'm alone by myself a lot. I'm single and I was out until I didn't get home till 1:30 last night. And I walked into a dark house. I didn't have the lights on or anything. And I had listened to your podcast yesterday. And I said, why do I do that? Because now I'm walking around kind of scared, like trying to get into the house as quick as I could. And if I didn't listen to it, I would walk around kind of, just not aware.
Well, I do plan on adding like a couple like not so morbid podcasts episodes, just so it kind of lightens some things up. I do try to put some coffee videos out there, like just for the promotion, just to like, oh look, coffee, it's great.
Yeah.
I don't
the same thing.
I don't mind that you do it. I think there's definitely a reason for it, and you should know what's going on around you. Yeah. I just don't like to.
Yeah, and that's okay. And that's what's so great about this is that you can either skip it, you can love it, or you can just ignore it.
Right.
But once I started listening, I couldn't stop listening. And then the brain just goes. Sometimes. What's that?
I said I can catch you in sometimes.
Oh, no, you can. But then I'm walking around afraid.
Oh, no. See, don't be afraid.
Yeah. I think that I look at them from the learning standpoint. Like you do have to understand that like there's a breaking point with people.
Yeah.
You look at someone like Dahmer, right? So speaking of next door neighbors, like I remember watching after they caught him and they found, God, he had like a human head in the refrigerator or the freezer. He had hands on the stove boiling. Everyone that they interviewed outside were like, he was such a nice guy. Like he said hi to everybody and he was doing this. It's like he was also drilling holes in people's heads. Like, I'm the
type of person that will friend somebody like that. I like people that don't talk, and I like people that you have to like kind of work to get in with. I would be the dumbass that would befriend somebody like that.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. Like, you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of the reason why like I had my issue with my stalker was because I was managing at a hospital in Massachusetts, and they had hired some people, and I had gotten a weird vibe. Ever since I've been young, I've had like just whatever you want to call it. I've just gotten a feeling that somebody's either good or not good or questionable. And when he came in, immediately I was like, why did you hire him? Why? And they're like, oh, it's fine. And he had lied about a couple things, and my flags just started going off. I was like, it takes 2 seconds to get this, takes a couple seconds to get this. So things started escalating. And where we had worked, he had he had moved his station right next to my office, and he would just watch me to come out of the room, watch me to go in it. And then finally he ended up blocking my doorway, and he had stood right in front of it and was like, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" And thankfully, my partner was in with me. He was also in the city as well. And he came out and he's like, "What's going on?" He's like, freaked him out. But he followed me an hour and a half home. And had I not had my situational awareness training, I would not have known, because I used to drive really fast and super crazy, but I'm a little better now. And so I would switch lanes. And as I would switch lanes, I would notice he'd be behind me and he's switching lanes too. And this is an hour and a half and the car's following me in the same lane. And so I called my friend. I was like, "Hey, can I come over?" And thankfully he came out with his firearms and walked me inside, and everything was nice and great. So at the time I didn't carry because I was crossing through state lines, and New England's really crazy on gun laws, and I'm not trying to have any of that.
Yes.
So I was like, "Please help." And thankfully I talked to my director and my manager, and my manager was really great about it, but my director pretty much told me I was hysterical. And we went to go file a police report, and they told us that he was hysterical as well, that we were hysterical as well, because he started doing it to 4 other girls in the department.
What?
And yep. And the police department kind of brushed it off, and my hospital brushed it off. So I would have to get police escorted out every day. And
Jesus.
Finally, I was like, I can't do this. I already have enough stress. I have my health started just getting worse. I dropped like 20 pounds from it just because I was sleeping in different hotels, trying to make sure that he didn't find me. He didn't know where I was at. They had called me while I was on vacation, and they told me that he was able to come back to work. And I thank you so much for picking him over me. I appreciate it.
Wow.
So that's my lovely stalker story.
Wow.
Yeah. And, thankfully you live in a state now that's a tad bit firearm friendly.
Yes. Very, very firearm friendly.
Yes. Because we live in a state that's not. California is not nice to people who want to have a firearm. Thankfully,
you should come over here.
Thankfully,
you can have guns.
I live in a county where they're much better at giving them out. So I was lucky enough to get a CCW. But now that the Supreme Court might have fixed some things with, letting people not have to have a reason, because here in California, for the longest time, you had to have a reason to have one. So it was like,
self-defense isn't a good enough reason.
Unfortunately, not in this state, because we live in a communist state. So
love that for you.
Yeah. So, but I have friends who live also on the East Coast, and it's a great thing to be able to carry a firearm, because it's that one last thing that levels the playing field.
Yes, I would agree. And a lot of people harp on it. There's, I remember there was a nurse that I was working with here, and she was like, "I'd never have a fire. I'd never do it." And I'm like, that's because you don't have any education on it. You don't understand what the purpose of it is. Once you have the education, have the training, practice safety. That's like with everything. I was terrified to drive, but that's because I didn't know what to do or how to do it. Sure. I didn't know how to drive a stick. And I remember my dad, we were in a 1998 Jeep Wrangler, and he was like, "All right, shift, boom." And so I'm in there. And then he had surprised me one day at 2:00 in the morning with a 2013 Veloster, and it was the manual. And it was like 2:00 in the morning, just gotten off my shift. And I was like, I don't remember how to drive this. And it was great. But it was just, once you have the education and you know how to do it, you can go forward. And I definitely think firearms is such a big thing. So
I agree.
We're definitely irresponsible with them, but it's a weird subject. I say everybody have a gun.
I think
we all do.
Yeah, I'm very much a proponent of that. Mostly of women. And again, I kind of balance it out with most of my friends, because like I'm a pretty big dude. I'm about 265, and I go to all my female friends and I'm like, "So do you think you could stop me?" And eyes get big. And they're like, and I go, you can't. Like, let's be honest. Like in most cases, you're not going to be able to stop me. A 9mm is the greatest rape whistle in the world.
Yep. That is very, very true.
It stops it very quickly. It's either they run or they die, period.
Exactly.
So I don't know. It's good. It's good. I'm glad to hear that you're good with that. And I think it's something that needs to be pressed.
It's very important.
Mm-hmm.
I have, my boyfriend is, we go shooting we're trying to go shooting a lot. My health issues are preventing that. So it's been annoying, but, sorry, my brain is going a gazillion miles an hour. I was a little nervous because he's from New England. He's from Maryland. So I was like, all right, well, this is going to be a little rough, but I like it because he has a lot of the same views that I do. And he's like, are you carrying? Are you okay? Do you need anything? Like, do we need to go shooting? Do we need to go practicing? And he knows that like I can hold my own, but he also is like still protective. And I think that's very big. And I like for you that you're asking your friends like, hey, do you think? And that's something making them aware, because they're probably not aware that if they're ever put in that situation, they can't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's scary. The first time I was put in that situation, I was terrified.
Well, and I think that's the thing, with, kind of, going back, circling around back to your podcast, true crime. So, until you realize the things that happen to these people that maybe could have been avoided, like you talk about like I listened to the Ted Bundy one, and, he was like, hey, can I carry your books?
Yeah.
Or, hey, can I do this? Or, hey, do you need a lift? It's like situation awareness is a whole thing. I'm crazy about it, like, because I carry. And when I walk through a parking lot, I look at everyone. I want to know who's around me, what's going on, where can I duck in and out? Like as soon as I sit in my car to go home every single day, first thing I do is I get in, sit down, lock the door and start it.
Yep.
Period.
That's a beautiful practice. And I think everybody should do it.
And if you do that you have at least the car started, and if someone tries to open the door, it's locked. Then you can make the decision to run their ass over or whatever you need to do to leave the situation. So to me, I listened to the Bundy one, and he set these women up. It was like, and they were small things, because he used his being handsome and he was a good looking guy. So he used that as the bait. And then he was like using these small things to say, hey, let's do this, or let's do this. And then he was bashing people's heads in. It's crazy.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
I remember when I was dating, I ended up matching with a felon. I had no idea. He seemed so nice. He looked like the guy from Vampire Diaries. And I was like, oh, this is great. And super tall. It's great. I'm like 5'0". And so I'm just like, perfect. And I meet him. We go on a couple dates. Really nice. And then I was like, so what's your last name? Just curious. And of course I Googled him. And then his mugshot came up. He was convicted for like a couple things, and I was like, I can't talk to you anymore. I gotta go bye. So blocked him off of everything, and it's crazy because you don't know. They're like right next to you, and then things like that, like dating apps, they don't check for that. And then there was like the Tinder swindler that I want to cover too, because that was a guy that was getting money from all these women. Yeah. He was just like, oh, I need this. Somebody chasing me. People can do anything.
I haven't watched that yet, but everyone I know who's watched it's like, you have to see it, because he was just railroading women for money, and lots of it. Lots and lots of it.
Yeah.
And he was getting it?
Yeah. Yeah. These women were just like handing over money to this dude.
And I think a lot of it too is like, if you need attention, or if you're seeking attention or validation or something like that. So they were essentially paying him to care about them.
Yeah.
And I have also been there before, because when I had gotten out of the military, I had met this guy and we ended up getting together, and he was very horrible to me, but he made it seem that I was, he would give me that validation, but he got a lot of money out of me, and he ended up being very abusive. And so when the Brian Landry and Gabby Petito case came out, I couldn't really watch it because it was just really triggering for me, because I was like, I knew she was dead. I knew it. And had I not gotten out of my situation, I'd be dead too. So I feel like I've escaped death a couple of times, just a few.
Well, it's kind of good to know that the situation that you have been in. For your shows, like, do you plan, like, do people send you shit and you kind of look it up and filter your shows out and do all the research? Cause like for us, we kind of are hit and miss. Me and Tina will have shows that we know we're going to do. And then some we do literally the day of. I'm like, hey, what do you want to talk about?
See, I like that. For me, I have, I'm a Virgo, so I'm organized, and I've got whiteboards all throughout my place. I turned my second room into a little office / gym, and I have all the things that I want to cover and what I'm interested in, haven't seen it. And then I have a couple of friends who have sent in requests, but I'm still pretty new, so nobody's really sending anything in yet. So I'm trying, we're getting there. But sometimes I just like, I want to talk about this. Like I did a coffee video and I talked about the collar bomb heist, and I was like, okay, let me go research the collar bomb heist.
Okay. Yeah. Cause like for me, I have, we have a list of like things that people have thrown at us and
yeah,
we'll go with them. So when you do the research, I'm assuming, obviously a lot of these cases have long histories.
Yes.
And cause the first time I listened to your podcast, I was like, it was short. I was like, oh, cool. It was like 15 minutes.
Yes.
Like, I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
For me, I was more like, I want a little more information. Like, I was like,
yes,
like
yes,
you probably could have went, about 20 or 25 minutes. And again, I think that's just me, because I have a 30-minute drive to work every day. So for me, it was like, I ended up getting 2 in my drive.
Okay.
But it's interesting that I think that you hit some of the key, some of the key moments. And I can see, at least for me, that's how I see your show. It's like, because obviously like Ted Bundy didn't just kill a few people, like. Yeah,
it was like 30
yeah,
something.
But you really went with the ones that were kind of, did you go for the ones that were only in Florida?
I think some of them were in Florida, but to me, they were the most notable because they were really presented in the case, and that's what really got him.
Well, yeah.
So even though he had tried to represent himself and be like, that wasn't me, it was those bite marks right there.
And it was funny because I was telling Tina before you came on about the Ted Bundy thing, and he killed people all over the country, but Florida is the one that got him executed. Because if he would have got some of the other states, if they would have got him first, he would have lived.
Yep.
But Florida,
he would have lived here for sure.
Yeah. If it was California, he'd still be on death row.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
He'd probably be walking around in the streets.
Yeah.
Honestly.
If not, he'd be a star because they'd have him on TV all the time.
Yeah. Well, what was it? Gacy was on a cooking show while he was in prison.
Yeah. Oh, Gacy. Have you
been convicted? They were like, oh, no, I'm so serious. He had, after he had been in, he became the head chef. He was very charismatic, and he tried to get into politics before. And so he had pretty much worked his way up the ranks in the jail and got on the cooking show.
Have you done one on him?
And everybody loved him. I have. I want to say that was number 6 or 7.
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
I think it was number 6 because Kemper's 7.
Yeah, Gacy's another nut job. He was just, this is
nuts. I always wonder if they look at other ones, because one thing that Ed Kemper had said in his interviews is that you're only learning from the ones that you caught. So imagine how many of them are actually operating right now. There was, and I'm in Fort Myers, Florida. So I don't know anything about this place whenever I got here. And then I heard about the Fort Myers 8 and I'm like, I gotta do that one.
Right.
And so a whole bunch of bodies dumped literally right down the street from where I live.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Have you done Scott Peterson yet?
Yeah. Not yet.
Scott Peterson might be one you put on the whiteboard. Because I know that was such a high profile case here, you know, with her being pregnant and then washing up on the shore. And that's, and
that was in California?
Yeah. I think it was up north. I think it was in San Francisco area up in the Bay. Yeah. It was, Lacey Peterson was the woman, and he was the one that said he didn't do it. And then they found concrete, and he did all kinds of crazy shit.
You know what? That sounds a little bit more familiar. Was that like in early 2000s?
I think so.
I want to say so.
Early
Yeah.
10s. Okay.
Yeah. Scott Peterson was
care about anything.
And he was another one that was like very
super charismatic. He was beautiful.
Good looking man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
I think the interviews are always really interesting whenever they talk about or whenever they're saying or talking about, oh, I want them back. I want them to come home. I miss them.
Yep.
I hope they're okay. Like Chris Watts interview.
Yeah. Well, I think that's with a lot of them, obviously, because they're trying to get away with it. So Scott Peterson, just so you know, that was in 2002. And it was in Modesto. It was in Northern California. It was a huge case. He was the one where like they found him and he dyed his hair. Like when they found him, he had like bleach blonde hair and looked nothing like
a girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I gotta look into that because
Yeah.
the Peterson I know is Michael Peterson, the Staircase.
Ooh, I don't know that one.
That? Okay, it's on HBO. It's really, really good. It's basically this guy is accused of killing his wife, but she fell down the stairs and people think he did it. People think an owl did it. Freak accident. Nobody knows. So the whole thing is about trying to get him exonerated. So it's really good. Definitely check it out.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that, you know, obviously, you know, you go down the line of all these crazy people that did horrible, horrible things. And then you have someone like Charlie Manson, who theoretically never put his hands on anyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or who's the Kool-Aid man? The guy who gave, what the hell was his name? Yeah. The guy who poisoned a bazillion, you know, like 900 people.
That, the Tylenol guy.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? The one who
I'm trying to think.
Well, me too. And I know his name.
Wasn't there over like 100 people?
No, it was like 900 people, I think.
Was it really?
They were on an island.
Was that in Jonestown?
There you go. Yeah.
The Jonestown Massacre?
Yeah. That's another one you should look up. This guy was like a cult leader. And like literally he put cyanide in Kool-Aid and handed it out to everybody. And then whoever didn't drink it, they killed.
Jim Jones.
There you go. Jim Jones Kool-Aid. Man. Talk about,
that's nuts. Oh, and American Horror Story did an episode on it.
It's a crazy story. Like, and literally these people, if you didn't drink it, they killed you. They were all leaving. They were all
like, you're dying either way.
You're dying either way. Bye. So you can either have yourself a cup of Kool-Aid or we're going to kill you. It's like, whoa. And
how do you want to die?
Exactly. Like, and I think that like, there's a couple other things that you may be able to look up too. Like, you remember, see, you're a little bit younger than us, but I remember Tina down in San Diego with the people who thought the aliens were coming and they all had Nike shoes on.
Yes.
Do you know about that one?
I know a little bit about it, but not much.
It was another cult though. They did the same thing. They all thought the aliens were coming to get them on this certain day, and they all took something and they found them. There was like 9 or 12 of them in a house in San Diego.
That wasn't the one where they had the goggles on. There's another one that's kind of like that, and they're not sure. They found them, and they just had these weird glasses on. They were just laying around in like a weird circle.
Yeah, so like to me, that's just as serial killery. You know, like to me, like you look at like mostly Jim Jones. I mean, how you got people to drink it like it was no big deal is one thing. Obviously, that kind of shows you that the human mind is so fragile. Like you can really press people or get them going in a certain direction just by being charismatic.
Yeah, and that's why like cults are so appealing. And I think one of the biggest churches in Houston, Joel Osteen had been. He shut his doors during the hurricane, and that was, to me, it was so frustrating because you've got guys like Mattress Mac he opened his doors. He's like, guys, come lay on all of our stuff. We'll take care of you. And it's just so crazy where you can speak to somebody and you can convince them. And still he did that. He shut his doors to the public, and people are still coming to go see him just because of the way that he speaks.
Yep.
And I think that's just so crazy. So if you can talk to somebody, you can take over the world if you do it right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Germany.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, seriously. I mean, people hate to hear the H word, but if you drop Hitler's name, the bottom line is this guy took a country that's a dot, literally, in Europe and made it a powerhouse. If he would have just stopped fucking with England and stopped fucking with Russia, that would still all be Germany. That's all he had to do. Well, and stop murdering people. Like, you know.
Well, yeah, I would appreciate that. My boyfriend's actually German, so it was interesting because he has a lot of history books, and I'm just so amazed. Like I'm still trying to dive into it because there's so much. But it's all speaking, and a lot of people are just. You get one person to follow you. You get another person. You bring somebody else. That's why MLMs are so freaking amazing. Mm-hmm. Or not amazing, but like, you know, they're so popular.
For sure. It's, and I think going back to, you know, we'll go right back to your podcast again, but all these killers have done that same thing. They're either talkers, manipulators, you know, they prey on either the weak or a fragile mind, or like you said, someone who wants acceptance so much, or there's just the crazy one who literally just picks someone random and murders them.
Like the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez.
Oh,
the Night Stalker scared the crap out of everybody here because this is where he was from. I was going to bring him up.
Yeah.
You couldn't keep your windows open. You couldn't have a door open. He actually went after a few people that my dad had worked with. And he really scared the crap out of everybody around here.
Yep.
That is so...
It was huge. You know,
it was huge here.
You probably weren't even born yet, I'm assuming. No.
I was born in 93.
Okay, so that was, I think, 88 or 87.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because speaking of Ramirez, he killed a few people here and there, and they were in low income or whatever, and no one gave a shit. And then he killed someone in a white neighborhood, and everything hit the fan because then it became real that he was in your town. And it's, you know, you start looking into that one and obviously bonkers. He definitely was a bonkers dude. I think a lot of the, you know, I listen to a lot of different music. I listen to like Norwegian black metal and all kinds of crazy shit. So when I see Satanists, I most of it to me is like, haha, funny. Just, it's like, okay, look, but you know, he obviously had a way of speaking. His interviews, if you look up his interviews, are very methodical. He knows what he's saying. Yeah. He's waiting to get a pop out of the guy. He's waiting for him to, you know, raise the level of intensity of what he said to him about, oh, I'm into this, or it's the devil, or this or that, but he did some crazy shit. Like he ended up sending eyes to somebody. I think
I think so. Yeah, I want to say he sent somebody a box of items.
Yeah, of
but I haven't dug into him yet.
That'll be a 40-minute podcast. There's so much shit.
Yeah, I know. So speaking of which, I am trying to make them longer. My little sister was like, "Sissy, are you serious right now? Why are these so short?" I was like, "I'm working on it." Well, when I made my initial ones, when I moved here, there wasn't any housing available. So I was hanging out in the extended hotels. And so I was like, all right, let me just keep myself preoccupied from all the crackheads that are outside and just let me do this. So they're shorter, but now they're definitely getting a lot longer. Like the collar bomb heist is hopefully like 40-ish minutes.
Oh, wow. That's a long one. Okay, cool.
Because there's a lot that goes on in that one.
Yeah, they're like, I think as you move on with this, they're going to become deeper dives. Like, or you could do 2 20-minute episodes, or just go back to back and have part 1 and part 2, because some of them are deep. But like I said, Ted Bundy, your Ted Bundy one could have been 3 shows because he did so much. I think I'm
definitely going to redo that one.
But I do agree with what you said. You got the ones that really kind of got him caught, and the ones who kind of put him away, which to me is just as entertaining. You're hitting the more points of interest. And I think that our listeners, hopefully they're going to go and check out your podcast and so they kind of understand what they're getting into, that the human mind is fragile for these people. But, I like that you don't glorify them. You're not glorifying these people. You're just telling the story of like, hey, this is what happened, and maybe even things to look out for. Because I think that you have to be careful with what you say. And I think that you actually do a great job at it.
Thank you. Well, in my background in surgery, I used to do a lot of organ procurements. And so my nickname became the Reaper because I would get called in to do them, even though there's another team. But I felt, I'm the last person that interacts with the body before they depart wherever they go. And you can take that as spiritual, whatever, you can dig into it. I don't care. But I'm the last person that's kind of helping them get past this next stage. And you have to be so respectful, but you also don't get to choose who you work on. You just have to do the job. So the Grim Reaper is black and white. When it's your time, it's your time. And it's either you don't get to negotiate. This is it. And so that's why I named it the Reaper Report. And my dad got me all my stuff and is like, the Reaper, he's so on it. And so I kind of dove into it. And I just think, this is reality. This is real life. It's, you're not sugarcoating it. And Tina, I know you said that you don't like it or you don't like hearing about stuff like that. And my mom's the same way. She doesn't like hearing about it, but there are, and I definitely get that because it's scary. Like this shit is scary. And
it is.
I have sometimes where I'm like, okay, Bailey, let's go for a walk. Let's go see the sun. And it's, I think just having knowing what's really out there is just so important. But I get nervous though, because sometimes exposing it can make people glorify them. Like there are, while I was doing research, there's still Ted Bundy fan pages, Ed Kemper fan pages. I don't know. To me, that's just nuts. Like it
just blows my mind that people would want to be a fan on a page with somebody that was a killer.
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense to me.
It's horrible. And it's also interesting to see all this real live true crime that's happening right now. Like we're seeing more things being streamed live, more things on YouTube, like the Parkland shooters on right now. And I'm waiting to do that case until everything finishes because there's so much. And like my sister's at school and I'm so nervous. And so sometimes I can't watch stuff like that because I'm ready to go fly back and go beat up everybody.
Yeah. I know there was one too. I forgot when. It was a few years ago. Guy walked into, I want to say, a mosque and he was live streaming it. And And my son saw it. I have an older son. He'll be 20 in December. Who was raised on firearms and Call of Duty, and he actually saw it. I never saw it because by the time I got home, they had, everyone took it off of everything. But he watched it, and it was weird to hear him kind of talk about it. He said that it literally looked like Call of Duty. How it was filmed, you saw people's hands, and it was like a first-person shooter. And to again dive into someone's mind like that, you're right. We're seeing killers do things live in person, and it's a scary thought. But again, I think it's something that we have to learn from. That you have to understand that you're only as safe as you think you are. The police aren't coming to save you. They're just not.
Exactly. Exactly. You have to protect yourself.
You're the last line of your defense. You are. Mm-hmm. And I want everyone out there to know that please be safe out there.
I highly recommend taking a self-defense class.
Oh, totally.
It's absolutely, especially if you're a woman.
Practice. Oh my gosh, please. And even guys too. And so I know there's a lot of stuff going out in the world. A lot of people are being a bit more vulnerable. And I think that having the background, having the knowledge how to either disarm somebody that has a firearm or disarm them enough to where you can get away. So important.
Agreed.
So important. My dad growing up, he would, my dad was in the Air Force and he would practice things with me, and he teaches my sister the same thing. And it's amazing. And so we'll wrestle around, and it's cool to see that she's, able to actually defend herself. And I remember going through my Navy training, and afterwards I was such a diva before I joined the military. I was such a diva. It was so bad. And I remember after I was like, come at me, bro. I got this. And it's a very empowering feeling you get as well.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. I think there's nothing wrong with having confidence. Confidence in your surroundings is great. If you're walking out of a store, like I said, I usually I look at everybody because I want to know who, why, where, and when, because I want to get home every night. So, and I prefer not to be on your show other than an interview.
I prefer that as well.
Yeah, I don't want my cold case being on the Reaper Report.
Listen, we only do hot cases. I'm just kidding. We do them all.
That's good. That's really good. So let's throw out your socials again, so all these people can find you. Let's see.
So you guys can all find me on the thereaperreport.com. You can also just type in thereaper.report on any browser, hit enter, and boom, I'm right there. On that page, you go down to the bottom. All my socials are right there, or you can pretty much type in the Reaper Report on any platform and you can find me.
Awesome. Yeah, they can find you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Anchor, YouTube, and Spotify. Look at you. You're like,
yes, all the goods.
You got all the goods, man. I want to do Twitter. I just can't.
Twitter's hard. I accidentally tweeted at the FBI earlier, but you know what? It's already on there, so I'll see what happens. Hey, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll.
So
just remember, you don't let them in without a warrant.
That's it. I know. Trust me. I know my rights.
For sure. Well, thank you very much, Lexi, for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
I'm glad you came out.
And
thank you. Me as well. Hopefully I'm gonna have y'all on soon.
Sure. Tell me when.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll definitely come on and talk more stuff. We enjoy hearing our own voices.
Yeah, see?
Well, you do. I don't.
It's okay, Tina. It's fine. You'll learn to love it. I promise. We'll make it happen.
I don't know. We're like 50 episodes in, and I'm okay to not hear myself.
Okay. There are some people that go like 600 and then they're fine with it. So
it's very true.
There's no timeline.
I can come on and
That's true.
I can come on and be the guy that has the undercover voice. I'll be like,
listen, I never did anything.
Yes, please. I should get one of those. That's awesome.
It's No, those are the people where you have to blur the face out.
The face and everything.
Yeah, so you can't recognize them. So, well, thank you so much for coming on. I think it was a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you on. And you can come on and talk about other things other than stiff people.
Oh, perfect. Yes, I will. And my boyfriend's like obsessed with birds, and well, not obsessed, but he really likes them. So he could tell you guys a whole bunch of cool facts about birds.
Birds. We can have a bird show, Tina. Look at that. See,
I don't know crap about birds other than they crap on my car.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't they talk to each other so well. So it's really neat. So let me go convince them to get on.
Yeah. Again, we're always looking for people. And speaking of that, we'll tell you where you can hear us. You can hear us on Spotify and Apple and Amazon and Google and iHeartRadio and all that fun stuff. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and I have Twitter, but I really have an issue with it. It doesn't seem like it does anything.
You're just there on Twitter. It's okay.
Yeah, we're just floating around on Twitter. But yes, come back soon. It's thereaperreport.com. Her name is Lexi. She's super cool. And we'll see you in a week. And remember, this is an opinion show, so don't get it twisted. Just have some fun. And come back every Wednesday and listen to us. Tina, it's been fun, as always. Thanks for coming in and having fun. Lexi, as well. And we'll see you on another show. All right.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Rob.
All right, guys. All right. Bye.
Thanks.